Morning, everyone. How's it going? Got a little more Seahawks stuff to go into today. Before I get to that, though, me and the Hawks Nest will be streaming live tonight about 7 o'clock on this channel, my channel. So, for those of you who are familiar with the way we do things, then hopefully what you've seen so far makes you want to come back. And if you're not familiar, then tune in tonight around 7 o'clock or watch the recording later. But we'll talk about Pete Carroll and John Schneider's comments yesterday at the Combine. We'll talk a little bit about the draft, maybe get into a little bit of free agency stuff because that's just around the corner. But tune into that. Haven't heard a whole lot about the Combine yet. About the most interesting thing I've heard so far is that the Seahawks met with Cade Otton, which it makes sense why, right? We do technically have a need at tight end, and Cade Otton is somebody who, I mean, I'm sure he would love to stay in state when he gets drafted, but that's about it. I haven't heard too much else yet in terms of who we met with, who we've interviewed with. So later today, we're going to get some on-field work, and then tomorrow on, we'll start seeing some of the really juicy stuff. But I wanted to talk about something else for a little bit here. I wanted to, I guess you could call it, speculate a little bit. I'm thinking about this from a few days ago. It was on the Today Show. Russell Wilson and Sierra were live, and he was asked by one of the hosts about coming to the Washington Commanders. And what Wilson basically said, to boil it down, is Seattle's the place I'm at right now, and I love it. That's somewhat non-committal, but it's pretty strongly indicating that he isn't desiring a trade, right? Like, that comment doesn't sound like somebody who wants out. That doesn't sound like what Deshaun Watson would say about the Texans. That doesn't sound like what Aaron Rodgers would say about the Packers. This sounds like somebody who, at worst, they're at peace with the possibility of being traded. They're cool with it if the circumstances dictate it, but they themselves do not desire it. And this, combined with what Carroll and Schneider said yesterday, to me has, for the moment, completely closed the door on any kind of trade. And when you consider the fact that we are now into March, I think the odds of any kind of trade happening are minuscule, like tiny. But some of the stuff that Carroll said that wasn't pertaining to Wilson yesterday kind of has me thinking. It's hard to know what's going on in Russell Wilson's mind. It's hard to know what he's thinking. He does a pretty good job of being guarded most of the time. He generally sticks to the cliches in interviews and with the media, which that's almost certainly the right way to be when you're going to be an athlete. Don't let those guys in. Don't let those guys know too much. So it's hard to know what he's really thinking. He's not somebody like an Aaron Rodgers who will tell you what he's thinking. So I don't know what his perception would be of Carroll's presser yesterday at the Combine. But I can't help but speculate a little bit on it. Can't help but kind of feel like, trying to put myself in the shoes of Russell Wilson, that if I were watching that presser with Pete Carroll and there was any thought in my mind that, hey, maybe this isn't the place for me, maybe I should start greasing the wheels to get out of here, maybe I need to make this happen this offseason, that thought would have blown up in my mind on watching that interview. So I can't help but wonder what's going through Wilson's head right now when he hears Carroll and Schneider say some of the stuff they did. And it's possible that Wilson doesn't really think about things in this way. It's possible that in his mind, he just wants to go play for whoever is willing to cut the check. The Seahawks are paying him like one of the best quarterbacks in the league, so he's happy to just show up for work every day and push towards the Super Bowl. But just because he feels like it's going to be a little harder to get there, or maybe there are some obstacles in the way, doesn't mean he's going to demand a better circumstance. Maybe he doesn't think like that, right? Maybe that's just not how maybe that's just not how he thinks about this situation. Maybe there's nothing short of the team crapping in his locker room every day before practice that would convince him to actually proactively look for movement. We know that he'll provide a list of teams that he's willing to be moved to if the trade happens, but maybe Wilson just isn't that guy. But if there is any part of him that is that guy, and you take a look at the last now 2 years plus, where Wilson has asked the team to go out and get superstars, and he has expressed frustration with how much he's been getting hit, and to look at where they are now and where Carroll indicates they're going, if there's any part of him that is capable of thinking like that, I gotta believe that part of him is just stomping around right now. So, about 2 years ago, Wilson came out and said, I want the Seahawks to sign some superstar players. Since that request, hasn't happened. Not once. About the closest we came was Greg Olsen. And I know that Wilson was pro Greg Olsen when we brought him in, but it really didn't work out, and he was certainly no superstar at that point anyway. So, yeah, that hasn't happened. It didn't happen in the 2020 offseason. Didn't happen in the 2021 offseason. A lot of bargain bin basement signings, a lot of cheap signings, a lot of re-signings. Kept it very simple. This offseason, going into it with the way Carroll was speaking yesterday, it almost sounds like he's preparing us all for the fact that, hey, we're going to keep our guys, and that's going to take up most of the money here. So it doesn't sound like it's going to change. Now, some people have pointed out correctly that Carroll could just be lying to the media. Carroll could just be deceiving us because he doesn't want to give stuff away. That's possible. But what he laid out yesterday in the Combine was in line with the typical Seahawks modus operandi. So on that front, I'll believe it when I see it. That's really all I can say there. So we haven't brought in these superstars that Wilson requested. And then last year, about, 14 months ago now, Wilson came out after the playoff loss and said, I'm tired of getting hit so much. Fast forward 14 months since that statement, and the only thing the Seahawks have done to address that emotion on the part of Russell Wilson, where he's tired of getting hit so much, is bring in Shane Waldron. And I'm not saying that that's bad. I'm not saying that that's not going to work. It is, I think. I think the Shane Waldron offense is far more conducive to a Russell Wilson not getting hit as often. But in terms of the offensive line personnel, the only new guy you have brought in is Gabe Jackson. And Gabe Jackson's pretty good. He was pretty good for us last year. If he's with us this year, I think he will be pretty good for us again. But whatever good came out of that acquisition is canceled out by the fact that Damian Lewis is waddling around at left guard, barely playing at an replacement level. Excuse me. So, I don't know. If I was Wilson listening to what Carroll had to say yesterday about how, oh, well, we want to bring all these guys back. We're doing all this stuff on the defense. I'm all about continuity. And then Schneider said what he said about void years and moving money around. It's just like, this is just never going to get better, huh? So, maybe Wilson just doesn't think about things like this. Maybe he will not be the bad guy. Maybe he just refuses to be the guy to demand a trade. Maybe in his mind he's just like, nothing is worth being that guy. If I come out and demand a trade, I'm going to be looked at in such... The perception of me is going to be so against what I want it to be that it's not worth it. Maybe that's the way he looks at things. I don't know. Again, it's really hard to know what is going through his head. But if I'm him, after listening to what Carroll had to say, if I buy it, if I believe what Carroll and Schneider said, I'm jumping on the phone and saying, hey, get me out of here. Get me out of here now, please. Like, that was some real stuff. Carroll talked about bringing back Rashad Penny, which, okay. Dwayne Brown, not great, but defensible. And Ethan Posick? Now, if he's talking about bringing back Ethan Posick as depth, then fine. But that's not what I heard. I heard a guy who wants to bring back Ethan Posick as a starter. Like bringing back Rashad Penny's fine. Dwayne Brown, defensible. Ethan Posick feels like a slap in the face. It does. If you're bringing back Ethan Posick to start, I know this isn't true. It's so egregious, it almost feels like you're intentionally trying to make him angry. So there's some part of me that wonders if maybe Wilson's perception could be changed if what we see in a couple weeks mirrors what we heard from Carroll and Schneider yesterday, where we're not gonna go all in. We're not gonna be aggressive. We're just gonna re-sign our guys. We're gonna focus on the defense. We don't really feel like we need to upgrade our personnel. We're big into continuity. We're okay with just having okay players. We feel like if they know it, like, I'm not discounting continuity at all. I'm not. I actually do think that there is something to be said for continuity. I think that you will see a better product this year from these players if you bring them all back. But is that enough to overcome having these teams that have more talent? I don't think so. And you've got a prime opportunity to upgrade at left tackle and center, and you're telling me you're not going to take it for the sake of continuity, when in reality it probably has more to do with we want to be cheap on offense so we can spend all our money on defense? I don't know. It just, given the fact that Wilson has put himself out there a little bit lately, it almost feels disrespectful. And you guys know how I am. I am a Seahawks fan. I am not a Russell Wilson fan at all. I think that over the last year and a half, Wilson has dug his own grave to a large degree. I think he has played poorly at times. I think he has made mistakes that he doesn't need to be making. I don't know if Wilson's going to be able to completely right this ship, but if you're going to bring him back and give him a chance to try to right the ship, I don't understand the strategy of just going, what we got is fine. Let's just run it back. I mean, let's bring back all our offensive line starters. Let's keep this the same. Let's keep that the same. Let's bet everything on continuity and year 2 of the Waldron offense. I think those two things can make this offense better, but I don't know if it's going to make it elite, and I don't know if it's going to make it good enough to win a title. So I look at what Aaron Rodgers did last year, and I look at what the Packers have done since then, right? Because the Packers, for a long time, were a team not that different from us in that sense, right? Like, they didn't want to spend free agency dollars. They didn't want to go all in. They just wanted to chill. They wanted to sit back. They wanted to pay as they went. They wanted to preserve their future prospects, future assets. They wanted to play things very cautiously. And then Aaron Rodgers goes out there and says, like, you know what? Get me out of here. I'm tired of this crap. The Packers have offered to mutilate themselves to make Aaron Rodgers happy. And I wonder, yeah, we all made fun of Aaron Rodgers when he did it because he sounded like he was being a baby, but maybe that's what it takes. Maybe Aaron Rodgers tried to be diplomatic about it, and the Packers were just like, you're a player. Go sit down and shut up and throw the football. And he was like, okay, fine. This is what it takes for you guys to take me seriously. And whether or not it's a good idea, and I want to be clear about this, I don't think what the Packers are possibly going to do this offseason is a very good idea. It's too extreme even for me. He got their attention, and the power dynamic in that franchise seems to have shifted heavily, because the fact that the Packers are willing to completely mutilate their future for 1, maybe 2 more years of an elite Aaron Rodgers, that makes you wonder what Wilson could accomplish if he decided to take that route. I know he doesn't want to be the bad guy, but I can't help but wonder if he's looking at what Rodgers managed to get done in Green Bay, or what he's in the process of potentially getting done as well, and going, okay, maybe this is what it takes to get these people to listen. Just a thought. Let me know what you guys think. It's a complicated topic. I kind of went all over the place with it, but I'm wondering what's going on in Wilson's head right now. Now that Carroll has basically come out and said, "Yeah, we're building the defense and keeping our guys this offseason. The offense, like whatever, they'll figure it out." I don't know. Let me know what y'all think.